Megan, it is Wednesday, July 14th. Um, and looking at this, I need to trim my little beard. So I have to start with Jamie Lee Curtis because I'm a little taken aback here. Um, Jamie Lee Curtis is a person I respect and admire and think is incredibly talented and smart. Um, and and genuine, and I believe her when she says that she respects you, um, which is a little alarming um, to me, because I don't see a lot. Um, sure, you'll stick to your guns, but your guns are stuck they're just in the wrong place, and in such hypocrisy. I don't. I guess you can respect your stick to itiveness, um, but not respect um, your opinion. maybe that's maybe that's the lesson here. I'm just trying to work it out as we go through this. But Jamie Lee Curtis, there's a woman who came from a position of privilege, um, and you know, as a teenager, took a part in a shitty low budget movie. That you know, I don't know if the producers or directors were trying to cash in on who she was, but she sure wasn't. But anyway, she's taken her position as a Hollywood family, and worked very hard and has done a lot of good in the world for other people, and has been a very good example of someone who is appreciative and understands their position that they came from, what opportunities that they were given, how lucky they are, how fortunate they are, and tried to do good for other people, um, and stand up for people who don't have what she has. And I don't see that being a model for you. Um, so you know, kudos to you for getting the respect of Jamie Lee Curtis. That's um, a shocker to me. But we'll go back to the original first topic of the day, which was about the President Biden uh, trying to shame the Republicans about their voter suppression laws that are rampant across the country. And you agreed with Sarah that people want uh, people want voters to present ID. That people are, whatever it is, 70 something percent of the people agree with voter ID laws. You left out the part about the efforts of what voter ID means. There is never supposed to be an impediment, a financial impediment to voting. And a government issued ID, we've had this conversation before, a government ID issued ID costs money. So if you're going to require a government issued ID, then the government issued ID needs to be free in order to make it a condition for voting. That's and I don't remember what clause that's in. There is a statute somewhere in all of it. I don't have it off the top of my head. That says you can't impede someone from voting with any kind of financial burden. So what Stacey Abrams is doing is saying, okay, yeah, sure, voter ID, you have to have some sort of, like, bring in a utility bill, bring in something that shows that you are who you are and you live where you live. You ignored the fact that what people also want is better accessibility to voting, which is easier vote by mail, longer um, voting windows, early vote. People want, the voting election day to be a holiday, I think that's a terrible idea, because then they become white sales, and people take the Monday off and they go away and they forget to get their absentee ballot, and it's all stupid. The whole thing, honestly, if we mailed every registered voter a ballot and did it that way, it would be fine. Um, but but we don't. So you just skipped over all of the rest of that, and you didn't address the GOP's vast campaign across this country in states and localities to make it harder for people to vote, and poo-poo the idea that this is somehow a Jim Crow law, which means you don't understand anything about what the Jim Crow laws were, and are, have not met the moment for the racial reckoning that this country is going through, and trying to understand or listen to how we have suppressed people of color through our entire history of this country, including up until now, and are trying to do it even further. You can only look at that lens through, well, I just go to my polling place and it's right down the street and blah, blah, blah. Not realizing that these voter laws that the GOP is enacting across the country are making it much more difficult for people in rural areas, people of lesser means, to be able to vote. So, that seems clearly of no concern to you. You just wanted to talk about, strategies for the midterms, which you always like to talk about, which I don't think you're really ever right about when it comes down to it. You like to talk about it, but then you're never held accountable after the fact when, what you said should be done, if it was done, didn't work, or didn't get done because it was a bad idea. So, and none of the rest of the topics matter. I'm still nonplussed about the whole Jamie Lee Curtis likes you thing. But we don't all have to agree.